Example 1 says, what is the least common multiple, which, by the way, we also call that an LCM, least common multiple, of 10, 15, and 20. So basically what that means is what number, is there a number that they all multiply to? So I'm going to list out my multiples of 10. So I'm going to do 10 in blue over here. So 10, I have 10 as a multiple of 10, so is 20 and 30 and 40 and 50, 60, 70, 80. We're going to do the same thing for 15. We'll do 15 in green. So 15, my multiples are 15, 30. I'm just counting by 10s over here. Now I'm counting by 15s. 45, 60, 75, 90, 105. And we'll do the same thing with 20. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, we'll do 120. So what is the smallest number, the smallest multiple that they all have in common? So let's see, I'll get my yellow highlighter out here. So let's see, well, I see this one has a 20 and this row has a 20, but all three rows or all three columns need a 20. So it's not 20. All right, I see a 30 here and a 30 here, but 20 does not have a 30, so it's not that. Here's a 40, and here's a 40, but my 15 column doesn't have a 40. That's not 50. Let's look at 60. Here's a 60, here's a 60, oh, and here's a 60. So 60 is the smallest number that they all have in common. So my least common multiple is 60. And just list out, just count by that number. So like it was 10, we counted by 10s, 15, count by 15s, 20, count by 20s. I like to list out my numbers like that because it's really easy for me to see. Okay, example number 2 is what is the greatest common factor? And greatest common factor we call GCF of 54 and 36. So factors are a little bit different than multiples. So let's see, we'll do 54 in blue. Factors are the numbers that multiply to that number. So I can't count by 54s. I need the numbers that multiply to 54. So I always like to start with 1, because 1 goes into every number. 1 times what is 54? Well, 1 times 54. 2 times what is 54? 2 times 27. 3 times what is 54? This one's kind of a tricky one. 3 times 18. 4 doesn't go into 54 evenly. Neither does 5. What about 6? 6 times 9. And 7 doesn't go evenly. 8 doesn't go evenly. And then we're back to 9, but we already have that number written down. So those are all of the numbers that multiply to 50. Now we have to do the same thing for 36. So I always start with 1. 1 times 36 is 36. And I count down. 2 times 18 is 36. 3 times 12 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36. And 6 times 6 is 36. So I want to look for what is this time I want the greatest common factor. So I'm going to do this in like green. I want the greatest common factor. So I want the biggest factor that they have in common. So they both have a 1 in common. They both have a 2 in common. They both have a 3 in common. They have a lot in common. They both have a 6 in common. They both have a 9 in common. They both have an 18 in common. And I think that's it. 36 doesn't have 27 or 54. So I want the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor that they both have, the biggest number, is 18. It's the biggest number they have in common. So my greatest common factor is 18. That's my answer. List out your numbers though so you can see, because it's really, really helpful.